Hello everyone. Today we're learning mציעא Daf Memches. So we had the Machlokes Rabbi Yochanan and the Rish Lakish. Does Mois koinos midorai? So that shit as Rabbi Yochanan. That really, when I give money for item, it works. The item becomes mine when I give the money. And the Rabbanan said it doesn't work because Shema Yoimru Nisrufa Chutecho Baliyah. That's Shittas Rabbi Yochanan. And Shittas Rish Lakish is that no, from the Torah Mois doesn't work and only Mashiach works. So now the Gemara wants to bring a raya to Rabbi Yochanan. It says, Nan, we learned in our Mishnah, Aval Omru, but we said, even though that we said that Mois and Koinos, if someone changes his mind, Misha Para, the one who punished Dura Mabul, who osidli para mimisha inoimid b'diburoi, he's gonna pay off to anyone who doesn't keep his word, and he'll get punished, even though that it's not chal the kinyan, but still he's not keeping his word. If you're going to hold like Rabbi Yochanan that really mois is a kinyan, and Rabbanon said it's not kinyan because Shema Yomer Nisufruchetecha Balia Mishum Ochi Koi Be'avel, that's the reason why he gets punished. They didn't keep his word, because really there was a kinyan over here. Elo iomus mois and koinois, but if you're going to tell me really mois doesn't work, amai koi be'avol, why do we give him a punishment of mishapara? He did nothing wrong. There was no kinyan whatsoever. So the Gemara mishum dvarim, even though that there was no kinyan, but there was an agreed deal, and once you agreed the deal and you change your mind, you get punished mishapara. Says the Gemara, but dvarim mikoi be'avol. Does someone who doesn't keep his word get punished and get mishapara midar mabul uosidi para mishanim midibura vatanya? We learned in the Brisa Memches Amud Aleph Reb Shimon Oima Afal Pisha Amru Talis Koina Dinazov. Even though that we said that when you do meshicha on a talis, so the dinazov gets owed to the other person. Ve'ein dinazov koin talis. But if I give a golden coin for a talis, the kinyan's nochal mikol mokoin. Even though that we said you're going to get punished because you don't keep your word. Kach halacha, that's halacha. If you go to Bezdin can't force this kinyan. Aval Amru, but we said Misha Paramanchi Mabul, the one who paid off Duramabel, Manchester Flogger, the people in Bovel who built the tower, Manchester the people in Stoiv who did lots of Chatoim, Mitzrayim, the one who punished Mitzrayim. Bayom, in the sea, in the Yamsuf, he'll punish the one who doesn't keep his word. Continues the Bryce and says, someone who had the agreement on a deal, that's not a kinyan, because you need to do a meshicha or kinyan. If someone changes mind from an agreement, Chachamim are not happy with him. So we can see there's two types of things. One is mishapara, that's very chama, and then there's something else that's not as chama, is only that's not as bad. And Rava said, Anu elo ein ruach chacham noichim. Tosis explained that Rava is coming to say that there's a difference between mishapara and ruach chacham ein noichim, that's less of a bad thing. So we could see clearly that there's a difference between someone who doesn't keep his word and someone who gave money and doesn't keep his word. And if you're Rish Lakish, what's the difference? Giving the money is nothing, because it's not kinyan if you're Rish Lakish. No. If I agreed on something and I gave money, then you get the chomadik thing of mishapara, because together with the dibble there was a maisa, even if this maisa didn't do a kinyan. But if there was only agreement, but there's no money agreement between you, there's no punishment of avol. And therefore we answered Rish Lakish that even though they're mois and koinos, but still, because there was a maisa of giving over the money, there's a bigger punishment on him if he changes and breaks his word. Omar Rava, Krov Masnisim, there's a pasuk and a brisa, Messiah le Rish Lakish, the right to Rish Lakish, a meshicha, Torah is koina and not mois. Krov, what's the pasuk? Tichsiv, it says in the pasuk, and this pasuk is talking about someone who lied about something that he owes his friend, and then he admitted he has to bring a carbon on a chomish. So it says, V'kichesh ba'misoi, Bepikodon. He lied to his friend about the Pikodon, number one. Oy b'chumas yod, all about a loan. Oy begezel, something that he stole and he said he never stole. Oy oshak, samisoy, he didn't pay him his wages. And then chumas yod, the Gemara says, what does chumas yod, what does the loan mean? Omar of Chizda, it's talking about kigoyin she'ichet lo yiklila al va'osoy. It's talking about Reuven borrowed off money of Shimon. And he told Shimon, if I don't pay you, you could take away this watch of mine. Because otherwise, it's not doime together. If it's only a choiv that Reuven owes to Shimon and he lied about it, it's not doime together or pikodon where he's lying about the actual specific item. He's only lying about the choiv. So we need it to be similar. And therefore, we have to say that he was lying about a specific item. And therefore, we have to put it in the case where he was miyached a special keli for this alva. Oshak, how is that case where Oshak he owes wages? How is that lying about that? It's not connected to a specific item. He said, I'll pay you, and if I won't pay you for your work, I'll give you this watch or whatever item it is. And then he lied about it. That's the case of the posuk. Said the Gemara, when the posuk is talking about after he was moided that he lied. And the Torah says you have to give back the thing you lied about. If he lied and he admitted, he gave back the gzeila. He should give back the gzeila. Or he should give back the money that he owes as wages. Number 3, that he owes a pikodon that he was deposited by him. The fourth thing, talking about the loan, it doesn't say in the posuk where you have to give it back. You have to give back the loan that he owed him. My time. What's the reason why the Torah doesn't say that you have to give it back? Lav mishum de mechusar mashicha. Because there was no mashicha on that specific item, because he just promised him to give him this item, but he didn't do a mashicha. The malve never did a mashicha on this item, and therefore there was no kinyan, and therefore he doesn't have to give back the item. He can give back money. And that's why the Torah says you don't have to give back the specific item. So we can see in the Torah, from this pasuk, that if you don't do Meshicha, there's no kinyan. So here we could learn that Meshicha is koina. So it's a Aryeh to Rish Lakish, a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. Omar le Rav Papa told Rava, Eima me'oisheku da'ada kra. Maybe because Oishek is talking about where he was miyached kli le'oshkoi, and Chumas Yad is also talking about miyached kli le'alva'osoi, so it's a similar case. So once the Torah said they have to give back the item by Oishek, so also therefore you have to give back the item by Chumas Yad, the item. But really enochinami, even though they didn't do Meshicha, because money was transferred, there was a kinyan, and for sure you do have to give back the item, and therefore there's no kasha, because we could learn Chumas Yad from Oishek. So the Gemara, no. And we talk about a case with the other Mashiach, in the case of Oishek, it's talking about he promised him, I'll pay you, and if I won't pay you, I'll give you this watch. And the worker took it from him, and he gave it back to the person who's working by, and it said, here, keep it for me until I do my job. And then he was lied about it, and then when he comes to pay, so he has to give back this keli because he did Mashiach. So if that's the case, I need pikodon. It's exactly like a pikodon. Pikodon is when I gave a deposit. So here he also gave a deposit to keep after this watch. So what's the difference? So the Gemara trey gavnik pikodon. No, the Torah is talking about two types of pikodon. One's the normal pikodon, and one's a pikodon because of wages. So the Gemara Yochi, if that's the case about Oishek, so therefore Chumas Yad, when we talk about the loan, Nami lahadru lukme, we could say that it's talking about going where the malva took the keli that he promised to pay off with, and he gave it back to the loiva to keep it for him until he doesn't pay off. And therefore, it's talking about with his Meshicha. So if it's talking about with his Meshicha, there's no raya. What's a raya? We were trying to bring a raya when there's no Meshicha. So the Gemara, if the Torah would say, in the posuk of giving it back, they have to give back the oishek and the alva. There wouldn't be a kash on Rabbi Yochanan and no raya to Rish Lakish, and you couldn't bring, because one would say that it's talking about dafka where he did meshicha and that's why you have to give it back. And one would say it's talking about even without meshicha because mois koinos. wouldn't have any raya not to hear, not to hear. Ashto de loyadri kro. Now that the Torah didn't repeat that you should give back the alva, the chayfet that was miyuchad to the alva, mesayele, the Torah raya to tell you, you know why the Torah tells you that by alva you don't have to give it? Because it's somewhere we didn't do Mashiach. And here the Torah is teaching you that Mashiach is koina, and without Mashiach it's nothing. Therefore, we have a raya to Rish Lakish. The said the Gemara, but Chumas Yad lo yahadri kro. Did the Torah not say that you have to give back the Chumas Yad? It does say you should give it back. Vatanya, we learned in the Brayso, Omar Rab Shimon, Minayin litines omo lemato. How do I know that all the four things that we said at the top, Chumas Yad, Oishek, Gezel, and Pikodin, that are written at the top where he lied about, that also at the bottom when it says that you have to give it to him back, it's talking about all those four cases, because it's in the pasuk, Oy mikol asher shova alav lasheker. Anything he's lying about, it's coming to say anything he's lying about, he has to pay back. So it does say at that pasuk where you have to give it back also Chumas Yod alva. Omar Rav Nachman, Omar Barvo, Omar Rav, Rabbis, why is that coming to include? Chumas Yod leishav, to tell you that you have to give back the alva. So you could see even by alva it says you have to give it back. So why are you telling me that it doesn't say in the Ashova about Chumas Yad? It does, because it says Oy mikol asher shova alav lasheker. So the Gemara, no. The head Yamir lo yahadri kra. At the end of the day, the Torah didn't say you should give back the Chumas Yad clearly. It doesn't say it. It's only from a ribu Oy mikol asher shova lasheker. Why not? Because the Torah wants to tell you that by Chumas Yad you only have to give it back if you did a Mashiach, but if you didn't do a Mashiach, no. And why is that? Because Mashiach is koina. So we have a right to Rish Lakish, and Mashiach is koina, without Mashiach is nothing. So we have a right from the Pasuk. Rava said we have a right from the Pasuk and from the Brayso. Let's see what the Brayso is. Masnisa minolon, what is the Brayso? The Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, Nosna labalon, someone who had money that belonged to Hegdish, and he gave it to the bath, the person who does the bathhouse, more straight away when he gives it over to him, the Meila, he's taking away from Hekdish's money. Omar Rav, and Rav said in this Brayso, Dafka Balom, the Brayso especially spoke about a bathhouse, who deloi mechasu Mashiach, because by a bathhouse there's no chisaron of Mashiach. Once you give him the money, it becomes his, and there's no Mashiach to do, there's no item to do Mashiach. It's not buying a specific item that you can do Mashiach, and therefore, when there's no Mashiach, that's when Mois does a kinyan. But something that you need to do a Mashiach, let's say I gave it to the shopkeeper for some fruit, and I didn't do Mashiach on the fruit, I'm normal. Why not? Says the Gemara, but something that, let's say I went to the shop to buy fruit and I gave him the money of Hekdesh, but I didn't do Mashiach on the fruit. The Mechas or Mashiach that I didn't do Mashiach yet, I don't do Meila until I pull it. Why is that? Because you can see from this Brayso, because without Mashiach you don't have a kinyan. And you can't tell me because Rabbanon were mevatel mois, because Rabbanon were mevatel mois only between kinyonim when it comes between Reuven and Shimon, but this is talking about Hekdesh, and the Rabbanon were not mevatel in the case of Hekdesh, because if midaraisa mois koina, so you straight away should be moal even without Mashiach. So Elamai, we could see from this Brayso l'chora that Mashiach is me'atorah and mois is not me'atorah. Correct, the Gemara of Atanya, we learned in another Brayso, Nosna lasapro, if you gave the money to a barber, you're moil straight away. Says the Gemara of a sapo, but by a barber, boilim im shachtispurs, there is Mashiach over there to hold the comb, to hold the scissors. And why you moil straight away? There's no Mashiach yet. And the filoach you moil straight away, l'chari could see that mois koina, it's not like Rish Lakish. So the Gemara, Ochav Me'askin, and here we're talking about Besapo Nochri, the Labar Mashiach. It's talking about a barber who's a goy, that by a goy there's no Mashiach. When do we learn? Where did Rish Lakish learn the holding of Mashiach? In the pasuk where it says Amisecha is a Jewish, a fellow Jew, but by someone who's not Jewish, Mois is koinois. Tani Nami Ochi, I'll bring you another araya to that. It says in the Brayso, Nosa Lasapo, if you gave the money of Hekdesh to the barber, or Lasapo, or to the person from the ship, or lekol bali unus, any person who's a craftsman, lo yimoal adem moshach, you not moel until you do Mashiach. Kashin adodi l'cheret to steer. On one Brayso it says when you gave the money to the barber, straight away you moel, and the other Brayso it says that you no moel until there's Mashiach. L'cheret to steer. Elo lav shma mino, you must say Can besaper nachri by a goisha baba, the mila happens straight away because then there's no Mashiach. Can besaper Yisrael that you only koine with Mashiach, and therefore there's no stira. And that's for the raya that when the sapper that we spoke about before, that it says that you almost straight away must be a talking about goisha sapper, because otherwise what's the difference between the two prices? Shma mino, that's a raya that the barber that you have straight away talking about goisha barber. V'chein Omar Rav Nachman, now we're going back to this Machloikis or Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish, is Mois Koinis Min HaTorah or not? So V'chein Omar Rav Nachman, like Rabbi Yochanan, Dvar Torah, Mois Koinis, really from the Torah, once I give money over, even if I don't do Mashiach, the Kinyan Schal, and that's what he holds. Ubotka Levi b'masnisi, Levi looked in his brisa to be medayik this din, the Mois Koinis, Vashkoch, and he found a brisa that you could bring a raya. It says not no lasito, and if you're the guy, he's a wholesaler, and he gives his produce to the shopkeepers who don't have money to pay him in full, and they give him a little bit of the money and for the whole amount, and then later on when they sell, they give him the rest of the money. So if you gave this little bit of the money to the sito in moal, you're moal, even though they didn't do Mashiach on all the pairs. Why is that? All the you need to do Mashiach. Elamai, we could see that giving over money, Mois, Koinis, Matorah, otherwise, why would you be moal? So the Gemara Memchesom and Beis, Elokashel, Rishlokish, Lechora, from this case of the Sitoin, that we could see that you moil by only giving over the money, even without doing Mashiach. It's a Kash and Rishlokish, you hold the Mois, Einem, Koinis, Matorah. So why are you moil? Who is this price? It's Rab Shimon. And Rish Lakish Elion said that his whole din of mois, that Meshicha koina no mois, is lefi chachomim. Lefi Rab Shimon, who holds that only the moicha could be choyze boy, he holds mois, yes, koina. And therefore this price where it says nosan asito, in that we could see the mois koina, is going lefi shitas Rab Shimon. Says the Gemara. We learn to the Mishnah, the one who paid off the Ramabul, he'll punish anyone who doesn't keep his word. Itma, we learned, when someone wants to change his word after he paid money before he did Mishicha, we tell him, you should know that someone who doesn't keep his word gets Mishapara. Not only we let him know, we give him, we curse him. We tell him, Mister, if you change your mind now, we giving you a klal of Hashem who punished the Ramabel will punish you. Abai Omar Dio Medina Lei, why the Chesiv it said in the Pasuk V'nosi B'amcha, someone who's a chosh of a person, Loitori, you shouldn't curse. So therefore you shouldn't curse anyone. Therefore best they don't curse. Rav Omar Meilat Leitina Lei, we do curse. And the Chesiv B'amcha, it says in your people, when shouldn't you curse someone who's doing the right thing? But this guy doesn't keep his word, is and therefore we could curse him. What's my riot to this din that we actually curse him? The Rabchia Bar Yosef, the son of Yosef, he got money for his salt that he had. Lasoif at the end, before the other guy did Meshicha, the price of the salt went up. Also, like I made Rabbi Yochanan, and he came in front of Rabbi Yochanan, he told Rabchia, go give them the salt. If you don't give them the salt and you change your mind, you'll get mishapara. If it means we only tell him you should get mishapara, you'll get mishapara, but we don't actually curse him. Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yosef bar Diuhu. Does Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yosef, who was a Talmud Chacham, need to know this din of Mefurish Mishnah, but Mציעא for sure he knows this Mishnah of Mishapara. So why do we need to tell him about it? Elamai, we actually curse him. Says the Gemara, Elamai, so what do you want to tell me? Meilat Leitinale, we actually curse him. And so it means that Rabbi Yochanan actually cursed him. He told him, if you won't give it back, I'll curse you. Would Rabbi Chia bar Abba would be willing to accept a klala from Rabbi Yochanan of Mishapara? It doesn't make any sense. For sure you wouldn't accept that. Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yosef also Elamai Melak Latinale Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yosef also likabel latusa de Rabbanon. Would he accept on himself a klala from Rabbanon? Elo Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yosef, the story of that was a whole different story. They gave him a deposit for the salt. He held Kenegdoi Koina. He's only chayav mishapara So let's say the salt was worth £1,000 and they gave him £100, and he held that the Mishapara is only connected £100. So he said, okay, I'll give £100 for that I shouldn't get klola, but for the other £900 that went up in value and now it's worth much more, I'm going to keep for myself and I'm going to go back on the deal. And Rabbi Yochanan told him, no, you're wrong. When they give a deposit, even though you only gave a small amount on the whole amount, you get mishapara on the whole thing if you change your mind. Itma, we learned this din of how much do you get a mishapara on the whole thing or on part of it. Irovoin. Someone gave a deposit on a sale, Rava ma connecto koina, that the mishapara is only connected how much he gave. So let's say he bought an item of £1,000, he agreed on an item of £1,000, and he gave £100, and now he wants to change his mind. So if he gives £100 worth of the produce and the rest he's choizer boy, he doesn't get mishapara on the rest. And if it's somebody karka, he's only koina, and by karka mois koinas, he only has to give a tenth of the field, and the rest he could keep. Rabbi Yochanan argues, keneged kuloi koina, when you give a rova in the mishapara on the whole amount, and if it's karka, the whole karka is nikna. I have a cash on this. It says, now this is talking about different rova, and this is talking about the type of, no deposit to down. Until now we were talking about down payment. Now we're talking about deposit. It's something to secure a deal, but it wasn't part of the payment. So Reuven gave Shimon a deposit to say this is, but not a down payment. Reuven gave Shimon for a deal of Omaloi. He told him, so let's say the deal was £1,000 and he gave him £100 for Omaloi. Told Shimon, if I'll change my mind and I won't buy off you this item and I won't give you £1,000, you could keep that £100. And the seller Shimon tells Reuven, if I change my mind and I'm not going to sell you this produce, I'll give you back £100 that you gave me, plus I'll give you another £100 for my pocket. What the din is? Rabbi Yossi says the din is that it's chal. This deal, this deposit is chal, and therefore, if one of them changes, they lose the deposit. Rabbi Yossi goes with his shitta. The Oma asmachta kani, asmachta is like a type of bet when you're not sure. That means when someone does a bet, if he thinks he's going to lose, he'd never do it. That's called asmachta. So also over here, if a guy would know that he wouldn't complete the deal, he would never put down a deposit. So that's called asmachta. Rabbi Yossi holds asmachta works, and therefore each one has to keep his word and pay the deposit if he is choizer boy. Rabbi Yehuda no. Rabbi Yehuda says no, he doesn't hold of asmachta's koina, and he holds that if he gave £100, he has to get out of £1,000, he gets 10% of the produce. Omar Rab Shimon ben Gamliel said on this, when is this talking about that we said that you only koina keneged the roina and you not koina the whole chayfetz? When with this deposit, he tried being koina the whole kinyan. But it doesn't work like that because he has to pay the full amount to be koina the whole thing, or do mashicha on the full amount. But if he sold him a house, or field, be'elef zuz for 1,000 zuz, and he paid off already 500 zuz, and by karka mois koinos. Kono, he's koina the whole field or the whole house. And then the rest, the other 500 that he owes, he could pay him back. It's like a loan, even a few years later, but the kinyan and the whole house is chal. My love, is it not tuadin limitaltilim? Like by karka, we say that 1 second. Yeah, like we said by karka, that if you give some of the payment, 500, you're coining the whole item and the rest is alva. So the same thing will be by metaltin. When you gave us a down payment, you're coining mishipara on the whole item and the rest, and it's a chiyuv on the whole item. And if you change your mind, even on part of the item, you over mishipara. The said more my love who adin the stoma, if it wasn't like a deposit, if it was a down payment, it was a first payment, he's coining the whole item, And in metaltim you're not koina because more is saying koinis, but you get mishapur on the whole item if you change your mind. So l'chora it's a kasha on Rav who said kenegdo koina, and l'chora it's a right to Rabbi Yochanan who said keneged kulo koina. So the Gemara loy metaltelim the stoma loy koni. No, but metaltelim you only mishapur is only chal on the amount he gave, but not on the whole chayfetz if he never gave the full amount. Said the Gemara, Maishno, what's the difference that by karka it's chal the kinyan on the whole thing, and by metaltelin it's only chal keneged how much you gave? So the Gemara, karka the mikaspe koni that kesef is koine by karkois, the mikaspe koni limamish it's a full kinyan koni lekula. When he gives part of it, the kinyan's chal kafinti did the kinyan and mois is koine, the kinyan's chal on the whole karka. But metaltelin the loikoni that money doesn't work and the whole thing it does elelekipule mishipura only does mishipura loikoni leilekule. He's not koina mishipura on the whole item. The mishipura goes only on part of it, and therefore we don't have a kasha on what Rav said because of the difference between karkois and metaltelin. Because karkois mois koina, so once you give part of the money, the kinyan on the whole karka. Mashainkin by metaltelin the mois enim koinois. Only mishapura, the mishapura goes only on the amount he gave. The shaila if a rovon connected down payment the koina connected kule the machlokes tanoim, because we learned Malbes chaper lamashkin, someone who borrowed money and he gave a mashkin a deposit for this money to the malve. B'nichnesu Shmita, and Shmita came in, and Shmita takes away any choiv. If Reuven owes Shimon money and Shmita comes, he doesn't have to pay Shimon the choiv. But that's only if there's no deposit. But if there's a deposit, Shmita is not meshametes, because we say that there's no issa lo egois. The whole issa of the Torah is that when Shmita comes lo egois, you shouldn't claim. But here I don't need to claim. I could just keep the deposit. So if someone gave if chaver lamashkin v'nichnas hashmita afal pi she'ein shovei leplag, even though the loan was worth 100, and he gave him a mashkin only a 50, einu mishamet. Divrei Reb Shimon, Shmita is not mishamet, and we're going to see exactly what part, a 50 or the whole thing. Divrei Reb Shimon Gamliel, Reb Yehuda Anossi ima mashkin keneged alvo. So if the mashkin was 100. Like the loan 100, then you could keep the mashkin, and or you could take the money of the choiv, and we don't say that Shmita takes away this choiv. But the imlav, but if the mashkin was worth less than alvo, like our case, I was worth only 50 meshamet, still Shmita is meshamet this alvo. So the Gemara, my einu meshamet to come Reb Shimon Gamliel. When Reb Shimon Gamliel said einu meshamet, why is he talking about the 50 or the whole thing? If we're talking about only einu mishamet 50, but the other 50 he does lose, Michlal, it must be the Reb Yehuda Anossi who argues, and he says that it is mishamet. Soval lach palgenami mishamet. Also the 50 that he gave a pikodin on, even on that he loses that. Says the Gemara, Memtes Modalef Elo Mashkin Dinokat Lomali. Why did he take a mashkin? If the mashkin doesn't help because he loses even that 50, what did he take a mashkin for? Elo lav shmamino. What do we see from here? Ma'ene mishamet to come Reb Shimon Gamliel. When Reb Shimon Gamliel said, "Eino mishamet," he doesn't lose a loan. It means eino mishamet bikulo. He doesn't lose any of the loan. He doesn't lose the whole 100, and therefore the other one argues and says he does lose 50 because on that he didn't have a pikodon. My mishamet to come Reb Yehuda Anossi. When Reb Yehuda Anossi said that you lose, that you do lose a loan, what does it mean? Lahach palga deloy nokit alei mashkin. To the 50, they didn't take a mashkin because he took a mashkin on 50. On that 50, he doesn't lose, but the other 50 that he doesn't have a mashkin, he does lose. Ubahakum ifligian. This is a machlokes tanoim between Reb Shimon Gamliel and Reb Yehuda Anossi. Reb Shimon Gamliel sava keneged kulo koina, that when you give a mashkin or you give a down payment, it works on the whole thing, and therefore when the Shemitah comes, the Shemitah is not meshamet the whole thing because there's a pikon over here. Rabbi Yehuda Anossi sova keneged koina, only keneged how much he gave, and since he gave a mashkin worth 50, so keneged 50 doesn't lose, but the other 50 does lose. So the Chura, it's the same machlokes. Rav and Rabbi Yochanan is the same machlokes Reb Shimon Gamliel and Rabbi Yehuda Anossi. So the Gemara loy. No, we're saying it's not toile habaha. My aina mishamin to Omer Rab Shimon Gamliel, when Rab Shimon Gamliel said that you don't lose a loan, lach palga de nokitale mashkin. Only he doesn't lose the 50 that he gave the mashkin. On the other 50, he does lose. Says the Gemara, Michlal de Rabbi Yehuda Anossi, the question that we asked earlier on, if so, the Rabbi Yehuda Anossi who argues and said that you do lose a loan, even the 50 that he does have a mashkin on, he also loses that. Why did he take a mashkin if I can't take from the mashkin the money that he owes me? Doesn't make any sense. For sure I took the mashkin to be goyve for him in my choyv, so on that I shouldn't lose a loan. It's not the egois. Says the Gemara, no, you know why he took it? L'zichron dvarim ba'alma. The Malva took 50. If you would take a mashkin, l'teres mashkin, he'd take the full amount. Why did he take 50? Because he didn't want to take it b'teres piron. He just took it b'teres. If the loiv is going to say, lo yor dvarim oilam, I don't owe you any money. So the Malva would say, oh yeah, why is this Picardin doing by me this 50? I know it's only 50, but why is this doing by me? Isn't this your item? Don't you remember that you owe me money? And the loiver won't have anything to say, so that's why he took it. For proof, he didn't take it to be Toveh as Choiv, and therefore now that he's coming to claim his Choiv, it's Shmita already. And in Shmita, you can't be Toveh Choiv because it's Lo Egois. The Torah tells you that Shmita is Mishametes, all Choiv is Shkoyach.